You're listening to The Roots, a podcast from Minnesota AMA District 23 ARMCA. I'm your host, Jackie Reese. Let's dive deeper into what makes our district so great. This podcast was prepared by an independent contractor and may not be the views of the Board of Directors of District 23 ARMCA or any of their sponsors or affiliates. Welcome, everybody, to episode 9 of The Roots with Mike Larson. Mike, how are you doing tonight? Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. You've been a long supporter of District 23 ARMCA, so I think it'll be interesting for people to learn a little bit more about you personally and how you were involved with the district over all these years. So take us back to the beginning. How did motorcycling and two wheels begin for you?
It's been my entire life, actually. So actually prior to my existence, my dad and grandfather, this is in the mid-50s, decided to start selling motorcycles alongside of my grandfather's auto repair dealership. So that was 1955. We started selling Royal Enfield matchless, went into Zundap, some of the weird stuff in Tesla. And then in the early 60s, Honda, Yamaha, Triumph, and BSA came out. And that's when I was pretty young. But by the mid 60s, I was totally interested and driven. Motorcycles is all that was my entire life. I was riding by the time I was age 7. My brother, younger than I, was riding by the time he was age 6. And they didn't make small bikes back then. So we actually used to start out on the picnic table, ride around, and then come back and get off the bike, hand it off. So it was. But that's how I got into motorcycling. Our business grew, of course, for 60 some years now. So, but competition was kind of a natural thing, but there wasn't a lot of competition for kids, 13, 12, 13, 14 years old. So I was riding with adults. My first competitive events were actually first one was motocross, and I was so the bike I had wasn't that good for it, but then I rode a couple of enduros and that kind of hooked me. Then as bikes got better, I bought motocross bikes and did some motocrossing when I was 16 to about 18 or 19, and then went back to off-road. It was about that time when the Norseman Motorcycle Club acquired the land that Arnold's got right now. So my grandfather loaned the Norseman Club the money to buy that land that is currently what Frank is operating on right now. So, but that's kind of a unique story behind that. And I was actively involved with the Norseman for many years. And with the district as well, and just competition in general, just being in the events for years and years and years. So I could keep going, but start to stop.
Yeah. So, how did the dynamic change from the club atmosphere in the district to the promoter atmosphere in the district, right? It was very different beginnings than what we see right now. How did you see that change over time?
Yeah, great question. Actually, so I held an office in the club for a long time, and I would go to all the sanction meetings at that thing. You could see it back then. Jim actually acquired Spring Creek with Perry Hendricks. You see the difference between Perry and John. John Moore and Perry being promoter too, but there's still quite a few active clubs. You've got Mankato and you've got Golden Eagles and you've got the Norsemen who are still very active, but there's a lot of promoters now. And it's at first, being a club guy, I was like, I was maybe even a little bit anti-promoter for quite a while, but now that now come full to this day and age, I think promoters are maybe a little bit better for the sport in the fact that, I mean, one of the best things that's happened locally is that you can run a Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. Right around here, you have Peter Walton doing a Woods Wednesday over at ERX. I think that's awesome. So there's all these opportunities that if a regular club would do, they just don't have the manpower. They're not driven that way. The clubs are still very important for, they're the ones that work for land access and all that. But promoter is going to put on a quality event. Tracks are usually better, prep better, groundskeeping is better, all that. So that's I really noticed that swing, when the promoters came on.
Right on. Let's go back a little bit to your racing days. Do you have any really incredible stories from back in the day, right? You mentioned your grandfather. He loaned the money for the land that is now the Cambridge motocross track and trails and all that they have to offer there. Let's hear an awesome story from racing back in the day.
Yeah, I was never a national level rider. I was a good local rider. I was a AA off-road rider for several years. I was never a national rider, so I can't go. I never rode the 6K or anything like that. I rode some qualifiers and that kind of thing. But when I started motocrossing, and a lot of my friends will attest to this, that's when they used the rubber band start. So there was no concrete drop pad. It was just rubber bands across, little trip, and off you go. My first enduro was incredibly hard. I was way too young and naive to be doing it. Almost killed my dad because we rode together, and he helped me through all the stuff that I couldn't do. And I basically used him up. I mean, by the time we were 18 miles in, he was toast. And somehow I got in front of him, and I just kept going, and I wasn't supposed to. He tracked me down, and he let me know I was not supposed to carry on. But I've ridden several nationals, out of state, and ridden some qualifiers and that kind of thing. But just back in my heyday, I was riding all of Wisconsin, several of the Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota enduros primarily. That was my main focus was enduros. So that's good. Then hair scrambles came on as land use became a problem as the 2000s encroached. So a lot of enduros became hair scrambles because it was smaller land use, easier to put on, easier to lay out, easier to score. So hair scrambles became a thing as well. So, but I've always loved the sport, whether it's motocross or flat track or ice or enduro hair scramble. I've done it all. I've tried to support all aspects of the sport. We've had so many good riders that have come through this sport that I've had my ability to help in one way or another. Not tons of money financially, but definitely, some help financially. Going all the way back to the 60s Matt Savage, the last podcast. Matt has been, I've tried to take care of Matt on bikes and stuff for the last 20 years, if not more. That's a phenomenal voice for this sport, this industry. We've got a couple of Minnesota guys riding in the ISDEs, which is awesome. A couple of local guys, six-time state champion. I've been involved with Craig since he was a little guy, since he was actually, a little guy. And the whole Polnick, Jimmy Polnick, we were Heath bosses Heath Foss, before he became a pro, we were his big sponsor. So we provided Heath 250 Hondas to race pro motocross with, and it wasn't more than 2 years, and he got picked up as a pro, and then of course our association came to he still buys bikes from me every year, even though he lives in Texas. He still buys bikes from me every year. So I've been involved in all sorts of different aspects of racing, sponsorship, and involvement. I don't know if I have any mega stories about myself, about the whole sport in general.
Yeah, when you're talking about all the enduros that you like to ride, I was just wondering, which was your favorite? Where did you love to go? What did you look forward to on the schedule with those enduros or hare scrambles back in the day?
In the late 70s, early 80s, I loved Akeley. Akeley was basically brand new terrain, and it was rocky and hilly, stuff we don't have around here. And the Akeley was originally set up as a reliability trials, which is a long distance timed speed event, so different than an enduro. But so it was set up as a reliability trials, and it was just phenomenal. We hadn't had anything like that, and again, that was the Norseman who were putting that on. So and I was active with the club, but I was also active with the guys that put the course on, and they actually used me to set the time schedules on the different sections. So I was interested. That was just a blast. I did like 3 years in a row. So I think it was amazing. Still is, but back then it was brand new terrain, so everything was pristine.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's cool to see that it's stuck around, right? And people still look forward to it to this day. So that's a great continuation over time to know that that place is still there and still
Sure.
available for our members to ride and race on. You talk quite a bit, or a little bit, I guess, about the dealership and how it came about and how it has been in your family, right? Why did you really feel like you needed to continue the family business? You know, some people, their family has a business, it's their favorite thing, it's not their favorite thing. For you,
Yeah.
it seems to have been your favorite thing, of course, tied to motorcycling, but why did you really feel the need to stay involved with it?
Well, I mean, a couple things. I mean, number one, my dad kind of said, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. So but at the same time, God, I mean, when I was in high school, where a lot of us were finished out about what I'm going to do with my life, what I'm going to, I was walking around going, I know I'm going to do. I mean, I'm going into motorcycle business. I'm going to sell motorcycles. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And, little did I know it turned out to be not a ferocious job, but it was kind of like calling. So my dad acquired the store in '74 from my grandfather. I acquired it. My brother and I should say, acquired it from my dad in 2000 when he retired. My brother passed away in 2006 unexpectedly. So I was a 100% owner from 2006 on. But I love the business, the Jing. It's always fast paced. It's always moving. It's interesting. It's not just selling bikes. There's so much more to it than that. For me, being the buyer and doing all the projections and just trying to figure out what the next. I mean, you have to go to the motocross and look at how many 65s are on the line. In 3 years, that's a 125. Or, and you have to look at that kind of stuff. You can't just say, well, I think I want this many XYZs next year. You have to look at what's happening at the races. And with the numbers not filling up like they are, it's that itself is as exciting as can be. I You can have two tracks operating now, side by side, full gates, both of them.
Yeah.
That was unheard of 3-4 years ago. Unheard of.
Right.
So that's a big plus, and that's, yeah. It's hard to say exactly what the result or what the cause of that is, but it's probably a little bit of the stay at home that was put in place, and we had a big spike. The whole industry had a big spike. Sales the last couple of years now, it's been just crazy. I showed you, if I turned the laptop on and showed you my showroom, you don't have much in there. And there's not much to sell, but everything that comes in has already got a buyer assigned to it. So it's different than dealing out of the warehouse. Now we're dealing out of the freight truck. So sales have just gone, and it's off road. It's definitely off road. I've never seen so much enthusiasm, family enthusiasm coming through the door on a daily basis, not just on the weekend, but again, those Wednesday nights, those Thursday nights, those Tuesday nights. There's just so much enthusiasm coming through the door, and everybody's routing. It's fantastic. So it's so good for the sport.
Yeah, it is awesome to see. We've had numbers over 2019, numbers over 2020 at this time. So we here in District 23 have seen that impact too with our membership, which is fantastic to see. I guess, do you think these people will stick around? You've noted the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But do you think it's a lasting enthusiasm that they'll stick in it? They'll be lifelong motorcyclists for forever.
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to sit on some of the manufacturers' dealer councils. And here's what these guys say. So this isn't me, a dealer. This is what this is what the manufacturers are projecting. And KTM being the most notable. And they are so pumped. And Honda in the last 2 years has pumped 40,000 Sierra 110s and 125s and 50s and all these trail bikes into the market, because KTM knows, and they're projecting that 50 to 55% of those trail bikes will go on to become a higher performance bike, probably one of their own, KTM. So they're projecting that this growth pattern is going to continue for at least 2 to 4 more years. Not just the flash in the pan, not just a COVID influence, but actually they're looking for growth to continue for at least 2 or 3 more years.
Interesting.
Trail bikes. So
yeah, the entry level, right, of how you get into motorcycling, right? And I'm sure you've seen 50s and 65s, kind of like you've hinted at, just
owners. So it's all people ask for in the car.
Right. So for people in that category of new riders over the past year and a half, that may or may not want to stick with it, what can we do as active members in the motorcycling community, established members of the motorcycling community? What can we do to keep those people in the sport, right? Because we don't really want anyone to leave, because I know I love riding, and I'm sure you still love riding to this day, right?
Yeah.
So it's right, it's important to me that we keep these people here and that they have a great time. So I guess, how do you think we can keep them in the industry?
I don't know yet. I haven't seen that happen yet. I think there's going to be some backlash, so I do. I don't think it's going to be as bad as we all think. I think that we always push the grip training. If it's a newer, you keep telling me, Robert, they're very asking questions, a little naive, maybe. You can just tell. And we always suggest, maybe getting trained, depending on where they live. that's a big part of it. So most training is just metro based right now. So, but I know two good trainers that do the mentor by school, and so that we really do push that for sure.
That's awesome to right, to care enough about people that they go out there and they learn how to ride properly so they don't get hurt, so that they don't hate it because they got hurt. There's so many people that stop riding because they got hurt because of this, that, and the other thing, but proper technique never hurts. um, Earlier we talked a little bit about sponsoring, how you sponsor people in District 23, how that really has impacted you personally. If a rider is looking to make that next step, make that next impression on a dealership or something, someone in your position, what kind of things do you look for in a rider that you would like to make a partnership with?
Uh, well, results. Some, it doesn't have to be numero uno. It doesn't have to be that, but it's got to be presentable. Well known, well liked, well spoken. It doesn't break down all the time. It's got to be kind of that, and it has to be, consistent and definitely above average. But again, it doesn't have to be winning everything. It just has to be like that. Or yeah, it doesn't have to be a guy either. It's just that's the bulk of our sport. But I look for somebody like that. And usually they find me rather than them. It's been more so lately than way back in the day, but more often lately now I just have a guy that's 17, 18, 19 years old, just sit down at the desk, start talking to them, and check the resume and all that, and look that stuff over and maybe pay a little attention. That's kind of it. It's a decision process for me, and I have so much that I can do. And, we try to help a wide variety of drivers and all aspects. Again, we've got motor, scramble, enduro, a little bit of everything. So it's that's what I look for. And I've got some great guys right now that I'm working with. The owner family, man, great. I'm forgetting people, so I'll stop. So Nate Nate's been, Nate's a organ transplant now. He moved, but Nate's Minnesota in my eyes, and so Nate was always really good as well. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's great that you love to support the local community and recognize the people that could go on to do bigger and better things. Especially those two guys going out to ISDE. That's so awesome to see. Minnesota natives, right, on an international scale. So that's really awesome and great that you see the value in that. And you also see value in supporting District 23 ARMCA itself. Maybe talk a little bit about why you love to support us as an organization.
well, I mean, that trickles down to quality races. We probably have the best district in the country for the districts that I've been exposed to anyway. I haven't been exposed to it all, but I've ridden in a lot of those states. And when you ride an event in Minnesota, you can count on results, quality results, before you go home. Organized, sign up, everything. Just it's just like doesn't happen in other states and districts. So, and so we have quality events. I think our district is second to none from what I've been exposed to. And I don't compete as much as I used to. In fact, last year, because we were so busy, I'm pointing my fingers not directly at COVID. We were so busy because of it. This is the first year that I hadn't entered an event, which I didn't really even realize until I got to the end of the season. I went, oh, I've been riding with it this year. So that's what happened last year. I thought to fix that this year. But no, it's been fantastic. So I'm proud of it.
Yeah, well, thank you. We appreciate, everything that you see in what we have here, and I think a lot of people really see that too, how special we have it here. And if they don't, hopefully people start looking around, right, to realize how incredible it is. So I guess my last question for you is, do you have plans to be riding and racing anymore this summer?
Um, I'm going to ride some events. I can't really call it racing anymore. I'll call it fast. But I mean, I still know how to ride. I'm just not at a competitive nature anymore. Just, it's been a long run. It's like 50 some years, 50, about 50 years, probably. So it's been, I still enjoy it. I own 9 motorcycles. And so I don't go without, that's for certain. And so love all aspects of riding. Adventure bikes have that bug has bitten me a little bit. We sold Alto when Alto was still in business. They're unfortunately out of business now, but I kept one for myself. And that is the most fun motorcycle I own.
Really?
And it was incredible. I've got Huskies, a gas, yeah, a bunch of bikes. I still love motorcycles.
And that's the way hopefully everybody is, right? As they grow older and appreciate, all the times motorcycling has given them. So Mike, thank you so much for joining me for episode 9 of The Roots.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you everybody else for joining us. We will see you in 2 Mondays. Thanks for joining us. Catch us every other Monday wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on our YouTube page.